This question is asking, how do you deal with lease violations or contract violations, such as like too many people in the unit, that type of deal that might be in a lease agreement? How does a landlord handle that? Hi, my name is Rob Wells. I'm the Landlord Warrior on TikTok and YouTube. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to our videos. Now, just give you an overview, there are other tools in the toolbox that a landlord can use when they're having problems with their tenants, such as if they're violating a material term of their lease agreement. Okay, many of the common things that you'll see in leases are like, smoking's prohibited, only the authorized persons in the lease agreement or rental agreement can reside at the property. What's another good one? Like no pets and not cause a nuisance, that type of deal. These are all like valid terms in a lease agreement that a landlord can enforce. Okay, and those are like the gambit of things that people call us about. There may be someone that is allowing someone to reside at the property that is not listed on the lease, that type of deal, and it's causing problems. Well, the first tool in the toolbox for many landlords is to be able to issue a 3-day notice to perform conditions or covenants. Okay, it's similar to like the most common notice or 3-day notice to pay rent. It basically tells a tenant saying, hey, you are violating this term of the lease agreement. Okay, most lease violations like these are fixable issues that the tenant can correct by not causing a further problem or stop violating the agreement, that type of deal. Okay, in many circumstances, particularly under the Tenants Protection Act, a landlord has a duty to warn the tenant and give them written notice telling them, hey, I need you to stop. Okay, because if you don't stop, I can terminate your tenancy for cause and I'll give you another 3-day notice to quit. Okay, telling you you didn't fix the issue, you got to leave. Okay, now caveat: if you're in a local municipality that governs just cause terminations of tenancies, that type of deal, you're gonna have to follow their local rules, because sometimes there are variants on this, such as you'll have to register notices with the local housing board, that type of deal. Or you might have to put statutory language or per your ordinance in there. Okay, your mileage is going to vary. If you're in a local municipality, you don't know what you're doing, contact legal counsel. Okay, because this is where landlords go wrong in a lot of places. Okay, just another caveat to the breach must be material. Okay, it must be something that is like, hey, there's some type, and it must be for a lawful term in the lease agreement. Okay, saying like, for example, hey, tenant, you can't, have post a, have like a political sign or something like that. That might violate the law. Like, or if a tenant, is trying to, hey, I have people over, basically for a lawful purpose, like visit the property, to organ, to talk about, you know, whatever. They have a group meeting or something like that. You got to be very careful sometimes, because that might be protected activity, such as, if you're having like a religious group meeting or something like that in your home, it's just kind of like a one-off thing. So your mileage is going to vary there. And then like pets, the most common one for pets is emotional support animals. Those are covered under federal and state fair housing law. And you got to be very careful with those, because they're not pets, that type of deal. So mileage is going to vary, but let's say it's for like a legitimate issue, like smoking in the unit. Okay, that's not protected in California. In fact, there are a lot of ordinances that prohibit smoking, or in multifamily homes, that type of deal. So you can use a 3-day notice for that, but just what I mentioned before, it's not the end all be all. There are exceptions, there are nuances, that type of deal that come into play, and you can't just run to the courthouse and evict someone necessarily here. So if you're running into a situation where there might be lease violations, my recommendation is you always talk with landlords counsel to go over your rights, go over your lease, make sure there's no local crazy ordinances that you have to follow, and that type of deal. Okay, so If you're in the Northern California area, landlords, and you have a problem like this, feel free to reach out. We might be able to help out. Put your comments, questions down below. Try to answer them to the best of my ability. Until next time, folks. Talk to you then. See ya.